Good afternoon, Ms. Harrison and fellow students. Today I will be examining the sacred text of Judaism. Jewish people have two sacred texts. On the left is the Tanakh, which contains the Torah, and to the right is the Talmud. Today we will be focusing on the Torah, which is a part of the Tanakh. To begin, the Torah contains the first 5 books of the Bible, which are Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. Genesis tells the story of creation, Noah's flood, the covenant made with Abraham, Jacob and his son Joseph, and Joseph becoming the vizier of Egypt. Exodus, which is considered the most important book in the Torah, talks about Moses and how God helped him free the Jewish slaves. In addition, in this book, the 10 Commandments, which are the main laws, were revealed to Moses on Mount Sinai after he brought Exodus to the Jews. The third book is Leviticus, and it deals with the laws of the Israelites, such as dietary laws, purity laws, etc. Next is the book of Numbers, where the Israelites spy out the land of Canaan and wind up staying in the desert for an additional 38 years because the conditions were not good enough to leave. The last book in the Torah is Deuteronomy. In this book, Moses says his final words to the Jews, and he explains to them the reward of following the laws. The reward is in fact the Promised Land, which is Jerusalem. The structure of the Torah is a scroll. The scroll is the most sacred ritual object in Jewish faith, and it is handwritten in Hebrew on parchment made from a kosher animal. The scroll is then put in an ark as seen on the left, and taken out 3 times a week to be read in the synagogue. The big question is, why is the Torah so important to the Jewish people? The Torah is so sacred to the Jewish people because they believe that the Torah is a rule of living sent from God. They also believe that the Torah is a representation of their relationship with God, which makes it so vital in their everyday lives. Lastly, it is said that if they follow the Torah, the Promised Land would be theirs. The Promised Land is of course referring to Jerusalem. The Torah contains 613 laws, and out of these laws, 10 of them are very important. These laws outline the actions and codes of conduct expected of the Jewish people. The 10 most important laws are the 10 Commandments. The 10 Commandments are: Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Thou shalt not make idols. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord your God in vain. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. Honor your father and your mother. Thou shalt not murder. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not bear false witness against your neighbor. And thou shalt not covet your neighbor's goods. One literary form is a myth. A myth is a traditional story focusing on the deeds of God, often explaining natural phenomena. An example of a myth would be the story of Adam and Eve in Genesis, as well as the creation story. A literary form that is very prominent in the Exodus story is law. Laws are the rules of behavior and moral conduct established by God. God revealed the law to Moses on Mount Sinai as a set of rules for the Jewish people to follow. Pretty much everything in the Torah is history. History is considered stories of past events that are written in chronological order. An example of this would be the book of Genesis, where the events occur in an order. For instance, God created the world, then Adam and Eve came, and so on. Prophets were also very common in the Torah. Prophecies are messages from God directed to humankind through a prophet. An example of a prophet would be Moses, who directed the message of the laws and the Promised Land to the Jews. Finally, lists are a series of names, events, or words in order. The book of Numbers is an example of a book that uses lists.